homesteading to prepping to common horse sense, we are College Hill Farm. Welcome back to College Hill Farm. Well, today it's time to show you how we store our sweet potatoes. Now, yesterday I harvested our first row. My need said that was enough. That was all we were going to do. So I've still got to harvest the second row today. So this video is about how we store them. So I'm going to start out by spreading yesterday's potatoes out on a tarp. I just find a good sunny place that's going to be plenty of sun for the day and probably good enough sun for today and tomorrow. I like to have a couple of days of sun. And I think this tarp is 10 by, or maybe it's 8 by 10. It's not great huge. Now I've got it spread out. I just want to go get my potatoes and spread them out here, and I'll just spread them out with a tractor. Now that I've got these spread out, I need to take and spread them so that they're not touching. And they're going to spend today in the sun and probably tomorrow in the sun. I'll do the same thing for the second batch. So there'll be 2 batches of these. And these will lay out in the sun and cure. And then I'll show you what we have to do with them tomorrow. Okay, there's our total sweet potato harvest. What I harvested today, and over there is what I harvested yesterday. Okay, probably about 200 pounds of sweet potatoes when all the dirt's gone. What I harvested today was not nearly as many as, was about 2/3 of what there was yesterday, which, you know, for me that's plenty. 200 pounds is about all me and Crystal can eat and still have some sweet potatoes left over to bid. Now, the next step is that before it gets too late tonight, before it gets dark, I'm going to cover these with a tarp so that the dew doesn't fall on them. Then I'll uncover them, and sometime after lunchtime tomorrow, I'll start the task of sorting these and putting them in the basement. Now, I want to show you how to load these without, the reason I use a tarp is so I can load these back up into the bucket of the tractor and drive the bucket of the tractor up to the back porch. So it's easier to carry these into the basement. I've got enough stairs to deal with. Our back porch, there are no stairs, so I can go drive up to it with a tractor and not have to do stairs and then do the basement stairs. So the next little bit, tomorrow morning, I'll show you the taters that were left over from last year, and we'll get those out of the basement. And then we'll get these in the basement and I'll show you how to store them. Okay folks, here we are in the basement. Before I can bring the sweet potatoes down, it's the next day, by the way. I went out early this morning, just a little past daylight, took the covering off, so the sun's been on them all day. It's about 1 o'clock right now. So I need to get these potatoes out of the basement. These potatoes have been here a while. This potato right here is this is 3-year-old potato. Sweet potatoes keep a long time. This wouldn't be too good eating. When you cooked it, it'd be a little hard in places, but there'd still be a lot of edible potato here if it came down to it, okay? That's why I keep them, just in case. But this year I've got enough potatoes that I can clear my entire rack. Let me show you the rack. Right back here. What we've got here, this rack, is just 3 doors laid on their back, and the sweet potatoes are laid all along the doors. So this was full. These 3 rows were full from last year. You can see how many sweet potatoes Crystal and I have eaten. We've pretty well decimated them. So I'm going to go ahead and get all the sweet potatoes pulled over here to the front. And then I'm just going to put them in 5-gallon buckets and haul them upstairs. You don't need me to show you that, how to put sweet potatoes in a 5-gallon bucket. But one thing I will show you, in order to make this easier, these lower racks where you have to bend down, I use, well, if I can get it over here, I use a garden rake. Okay, it makes it so that you can just get these potatoes, get them all up here. Where it's easy to do something with them. You know, makes life so much simpler. So I'm going to get at this, and then we'll show you the potatoes outside when we load them. Inevitably, every year somebody comments on my page and says, why do you do that many sweet potatoes? You can't eat that many sweet potatoes. Who needs that many sweet potatoes? Last year's sweet potatoes and part of the year before's were stored down here. Okay? Last year I got 222 pounds or 224 pounds of sweet potatoes. Maybe it was 210 pounds of sweet potatoes. Anyway, and I kept back some from the year before. This is what's left. 2 5-gallon buckets of sweet potatoes from the last 2 years. So in the last 2 years, Crystal and I have eaten somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 pounds of sweet potatoes. Until you start eating, trying to live on what you grow, you don't have a clue about how much food it takes. It takes a lot of food, over 1 million calories. Matter of fact, 1,400,000 calories for 2 people for a year. It takes a lot. So I'm going to get these out of the basement. It's only 2 buckets, so it's not that hard to carry up out. And I'll get these out of the basement, throw them in the bucket of the tractor, take them up and dump them on the compost pile. And then I'll be ready to bring down the new potatoes. Okay, the sun has done what it's supposed to do. It's dried these potatoes out. Let you have a look. See there? They're good and dry. They were good and wet yesterday. So today, they're good and dry. They're ready to go in the basement. I don't want to pick these up one at a time with a grabber and put them in the bucket of my tractor. A tarp is one of the best tools man ever made, especially for moving loads. You can put a good sized load of gravel on this and drag it with this tarp without too much trouble. Same thing goes for these sweet potatoes. I'm going to load all these into the bucket of my tractor, and it'll be so much easier than picking them up one at a time. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that. that is so much easier than doing that one at a time. It's about 110, maybe 120 pounds of potatoes and dirt that start there too, that went in that tractor bucket. Simple. Okay, now let's go sort. Okay, here we are at the back porch. It's not rocket science. Potatoes like this potato's probably going to be okay. Alright, this is all good and hardened, this bad spot. You want to take and get the dirt and stuff off. But if you look at this potato's been attacked by voles. A vole is a little tailless mouse. A little bigger than the regular household mouse, but it's a tailless mouse, and it's been laying it to this, and I really don't care nothing about sharing my sweet potatoes, and they've done quite a bit to it, so I keep a bucket over here for those. But as you get these, you want to rub the dirt off, and I just put them in a 5-gallon bucket. And they're going to go downstairs. The more dirt you put downstairs, the more you have to bring back up. So just knocking the dirt off. Sometimes as you're knocking the dirt off, you'll scratch them a little bit. But potatoes are pretty tough. Sweet potatoes are pretty tough. And they'll scar over just like that. And as long as these scars like this, you rub them and they don't feel wet, they're okay to put in the basement. Use that potato first, but put it in the basement. See, this one's wet where the scar is. That potato's going bad, so it goes out to the scraps. This batch was real muddy, and I don't understand why. I harvested these the second day after I harvested the others, but this batch, the ground was just wetter where they were at. It was real odd. Maybe it was the time of day that I harvested them. See that? Most of that potato has been voled. So I'm just not going to keep that. I've got plenty of them. I don't have to worry about it. Now, if it was a SHTF, I might keep those. But since it's not, see, that's soft right there. That's another bad one. This one had quite a few bad ones, and I don't know why it was so much worse. And it was wetter. And I harvested them just the next morning from the other batch. And this batch wasn't as prolific. The other row put out a lot more sweet potatoes. Most of the time you can't identify the reasons for that. You can speculate about it, but you generally can't identify it. Now, comparing this to my hand, this is about the right size sweet potato for me for dinner. Okay, that's I'm in for hours, a couple of hours of doing this today, so I'm going to go ahead, get these, get them in the basement, and I'll show you them stored and what we do. I get asked every year, how much does a 5-gallon bucket of sweet potatoes weigh? Well, let's go ahead and do that. A 5-gallon bucket weighs somewhere between 22 and 28 pounds, depending on how heaped up it is and how the potatoes are packed in. So I'm going to put these potatoes on here. We'll turn that on. See, it's booting up. And I set on the potatoes. And this set is 22.8 pounds. And you'll notice the bucket's not heaped up. Okay, let's let that reset and do the next bucket. And that bucket is 24 pounds. Now, 50 pounds is that bucket's not heaped up either. It's just all in how they're packed in there. 50 pounds is a bushel, between 50 and 55. So, if you've got two good heaped up 5-gallon buckets, then you've probably got a bushel of sweet potatoes. If they're not heaped up, then you need about a bucket and a third to make a bushel. 2 buckets and a third of a bucket to make a bushel. Okay, I've been loading these up. I've got 2 buckets here to go on this top rack, and then I've got another bucket to go on a lower rack. I've already filled the lower tier, so I've got about 2 more buckets in the tractor. 2 more 5-gallon buckets worth in the tractor, and I'll probably bring those down, but I'm going to show you this and then I'm going to end the video. When you store these, you want to store them out flat. Now each door here holds about 2.5 5-gallon buckets worth. Now the second row's got, I don't know, I've only put 1 bucket on it, so it can hold another bucket and a half. I've got 3 buckets down here with me, so that'll probably cover this top row. And but what you want to do is you want to spread them out to where the potatoes aren't touching. That allows them to be able to be picked off without, or allows them to cure here in the basement, and they'll stay here. Our basement ranges from about 55 in the dead of winter. We don't have one of our air conditioner vents. We don't have a hole cut in it for it to naturally heat the basement. So the basement goes down to the 50s in the winter, but it don't get up into the 70s in the summer. So we don't condition this space. I'm sure us moving in and out and the leaks in the system, I'm sure it conditions it some, but not a whole lot. But now these are all uninsulated metal ducts. So when it blows heat, you know these ducts are losing heat to the basement. So there's a little bit of heat. So it will range. On the coldest night, it might get down to 58 in here. And on the hottest day, it might get up to 75. So that's the basement fluctuations. These potatoes will keep for about 2 years in reality. I plant potatoes every year because Crystal and I eat a lot. You saw how many we took out of the basement. So I'm going to get these on the rack. It's not a dainty process. You just want to get it done. And not sit here all day thinking about it. Now, I'll do them a little better than that, but that's what they look like. Okay, that's 2 5-gallon buckets. You can see there's room to put more. Now, down on the lower racks, you'll see that on the second shelf, I've got quite a bit of room. And on the bottom shelf, I don't have a whole lot of room. So, I've got probably about 3 more total buckets to go. I'll put a thing right here that'll tell you exactly how many pounds we got, and then you'll know what to look for. Now, as far as buying sweet potatoes, if you've not grown any and you want to go out and buy some, that's my suggestion. Find a local farmer, buy sweet potatoes, and then you can save for your own sets for next year without having to go buy sets. Buy the sweet potatoes, eat them all winter, use the little ones for sets. Now, if you like this stuff, this homestead and do-it-yourself kind of thing, be certain to come on out to the channel and subscribe. We do this homestead stuff every week, sometimes 1, sometimes 5 videos. Just depends on what's going on in the homestead that week. Now, if you hit the little bell when you come to the channel, it'll notify you when we upload a video. We upload every Sunday. Now, with that being said, it's time for me to get the rest of these potatoes on the rack.